Hello everyone. This morning I introduced you to Singapore and I talked about the philosophy of change in Singapore. Now I'm going to talk to you about one particular philosophy and just explore that a little deeper. One philosophy of change in Singapore is that it's not just about the macro policies, funding model, curriculum, things like that. Those are important things. However, more importantly, the change ought to be able to reach the classrooms where the teachers and the students are. And one of the most difficult things, I suppose, is to be able to change the mindsets of the teachers and to help teachers to change the way that they teach. Teachers in Singapore are a great lot. They teach a lot, we teach a lot, and we are very conscientious and hardworking at teaching. But the problem is, too much of the teaching may or may not be a very good thing. Therefore, now what I'm going to talk to you about is precisely an idea in Singapore. It's called teach less, learn more. And this is what happened. In the year 2004, our Prime Minister said something like that. We ought to teach less so that our students can learn more. Paradoxical, but when you think about it, highly sensible. If we teach less, but we teach better, then the students, they ought to learn more and learn better. So teach less, learn more then caught on, and it became a national policy of helping the classrooms become much more vibrant, dynamic in the learning. So essentially, it asks the teachers to do this. Let's reflect as professionals the why, the what, and the how of teaching and learning so that our students can become engaged learners, not just people who can pass tests or do very well in examinations, but actually engage in that learning, love to learn, want to appreciate, want to engage. That is what we're looking for. So how would I interpret teach less, learn more? So one way of interpreting teach less, learn more, in my opinion, is this. It's not just about cutting back in terms of the content and testing. However, it's more like this. And I'm going to just use an illustration. It's like cooking and feeding a child as an analogy. And this is the way that I'll explain it. I'm just going to use the most traditional model of teaching and learning, shall we? Not anything too advanced. So teaching and learning perhaps is a little bit like that. So you have this set of information. It's like cooking. You prepare the lesson, you prepare the food, and after that you put it into bite size and you feed the child. So you cook and you feed the child. So this is feeding, 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 feeding. And this is the analogy of teaching, 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 teaching. Now, the assumption is that on this side, there is someone called the child, and the child is supposed to do this. When you feed, I eat, I eat, I eat, and I eat. And it's not the complete process. It's about ingestion, digestion, assimilation, before the child grows in wisdom and in stature. This is the complete process. If you use that as an analogy, then what we are very good at as teachers is precisely this. We cook, and after that, we feed, and we feed, and we feed, and we feed. The problem arises when the child over this side says something like that. I don't want to eat, I don't want to eat, I don't want to eat, I don't want to eat. When a child says that, now the question is over this side. What is the psychology of the teacher? What's the psychology of the teacher? Feed them more. In fact, what we do is this. You don't want to eat. You don't want to eat. And I start panicking. You don't want to eat. I'm going to shove it down your throat. 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 And if I do not succeed 9 in the morning, I'm going to try again 4 in the afternoon. I'm going to keep you back. And I'm going to give you supplementary lessons. I'm going to give you more. That is called teach more and learn less. But if we do it correctly, or rather differently, then what we will be saying to the teachers is this. Don't shove it down your throat. Think. Perhaps taste the food. Do you like it yourself? Is that really edible, digestible? We are encouraging teachers to therefore see this. If you look at that teaching and learning process, do not use more teaching, more of the same teaching, more of the same teaching that you knew did not work as a solution to a learning problem. Think differently. Ask, instead of saying how I can teach more to make them learn, ask how I can help them to learn more. How can I create the conditions so that that natural desire for learning amongst children and young people could really flourish in school? That is the change of assumption, and that to us is called teach less, learn more. And how would I therefore use examples to explain to teachers in Singapore, school leaders in Singapore, about practically how do we go about why we are doing this? So I say to teachers, two things. One, if you go to visit the doctor, would you not want the doctor to first diagnose before giving you medication? You must know what my problem is before you know what to do with me. But our situation in teaching and learning is this. It's like a doctor. Would you visit the doctor who knows only one way to treat a patient? Regardless of your problem, I only know one thing. So you come in, regardless of your problem, 2 aspirins 3 times a day. Next patient, 2 aspirins 3 times a day. Next person, 2 aspirins 3 times a day. Because that's the only thing I know to do, regardless of patient. So I ask teachers, let's reflect. Is it something like that? Because that's the only way I know how to teach. That's the only way, and I have not changed that for the past 20 years. That's the only way. If we are good professional teachers, we will say to ourselves, that should not be the case. There should be all sorts of learners in my class, and I ought to have a repertoire of teaching skills and tools so that I can tailor lessons to help my learners to learn better. That is to say, we need to hone our craft. And I use another analogy with the teachers. Imagine, for a very long time we have been sitting around in a circle, singing and clapping our hands towards the fire. It's called a campfire. We are not singing towards another person, we're actually singing towards the fire. Question, why? Because the fire provides a focal point, a focus. So I say, the big question is, am I the center of the campfire in the classroom? Am I the focal point? So I say children are something like that. They have a little radar attached to them, young people. They are like people with radars. And in the classrooms, what they do is that they switch on their radar and they are scanning the horizon for something that will focus their attention. And when the radar sweeps across, hopefully it goes something like that. It goes, ding, ding. The one, interesting. And that one happened to be the teacher. Then what will happen? It's like a homing missile. Your attention will drive straight into the learning task that the teacher is trying to get across. The problem will arise when the young people, the young people, they switch on their radar and they scan the horizon and they found that there was nothing. No, these are children and young people with a lot of energy. When there is nothing to focus their attention, nothing interesting happening in the classroom, then what will they do? By their natural inclination, they will create their own campfires. They create their own campfires, much to the displeasure of the teacher. And the teacher will say something like that, I have got classroom management problems. That's not true. You have a pedagogical problem. You don't have a classroom management problem. You have a pedagogical problem. Therefore, what we are saying down here is this. Teach less, learn more. Therefore, says the teacher, hone our craft as good professionals. It is not more teaching, more of the same teaching that did not work. That is a solution to the learning problems of our learners. If we teach less, but we teach better. Our children will learn better, and they will definitely learn more. And it is the pride of a teaching professional to always make ourselves better as a teacher. Thank you very much.